Hey everybody, how's it going? Stephen Garner here, Team Most Awesome, Team Canada. And today we're just going to change out an airline for the airline that goes into your fuel tank to relieve the vacuum pressure inside your tank. Like always, I always leave this connected to the carb line here, just so that any fuel that's left in this carb line isn't going to drop it into the bottom of the board, and I don't have to worry about damaging the connections as much. And so I just leave that connected. That's my personal preference. This line itself has already been changed out. That's why it looks brand new. But I thought this would be a great opportunity to show you guys the easiest way to do these, because I have heard that some guys get pretty frustrated with changing these things. So this line actually runs in through the side of the board and then up to your snorkel and then up your snorkel hose, and then it's held by these rubber retainers. I have the snorkel apart because the ID of this snorkel has been compromised because it was actually torn, and then I siliconed it back together and zip tied it and made it work so it wouldn't leak. But I'm going to take this opportunity to change out this snorkel and put in something with a larger inner diameter. So that'll be my new snorkel. So yeah, the top of this snorkel, it comes up through your the top of your airline comes up through your snorkel here, and it's usually clipped back down into this top retainer pointing down. And the reason why they have it pointing down is because there's so much air being sucked into your board. Any mist and moisture and water that's actually coming over top of your board would be coming down into the top of that and then pulling that moisture in because of the vacuum pressure, pulling it into your fuel tank. So we have it pointing down so that the larger moisture that comes into the board actually goes past the airline and just comes into your board, and then hopefully gets picked up your bilge pumps. So there's the knot I tie to all these lines. When I'm pulling these lines through, I'll do a tutorial on them. But what I do is, it's just like the handle line, where you actually come through the middle, around the outside of this one as well, so it goes underneath both, and then back in through the middle, and it clamps on, so it makes like a nice little hard fold over rope. And then I take 2 or 3 more knots, and I'll put 2 or 3 more knots on the tail end of it, so that when you're pulling on it, it actually linches up and makes a nice grab. And then what I do is I feed this line back through and I pull it out. There we go, we got this coming now. So you want to keep just a little bit of tension on this side that has the kite string on it, so that way it won't slip off if it rubs on anything or gets hung up a bit. And you will feel a little bit of tension at the end, because what you're actually pulling this line through is kind of resembles the top of a ketchup bottle. It's got a little cross-cut rubber seal, and this is in the side of the board in the carbon. So your line for this airline, as well as the one for your ignition line and your hand throttle, will come out through here. And what that does is it prevents water and other stuff getting in to your engine cavity from the outer sides of your board, because there is multiple compartments in your board, and it's good to keep the channels separated. So anyways, so just by slowly pulling this airline here and holding a little bit of tension on the kite string, eventually you get it right around, and then you have the kite string right through the whole thing. Now when you're putting on your new line, what I do is I start with a full length piece of line. I think it's 8 feet or something. It's far exceeds what you need for the airline of this board. What you do is you cut off these zip ties and pull out the tube, and then you push the tube back in, zip tie it back up so it has a nice solid seal there, nice airtight seal. And then you tie on the new piece the same way as you tied on the old one. And when you get to this kind of rubber gasket, rubber seal there, it helps if you kind of help this knot section get through that seal. See, if I just push on the tube, then it actually just slides the knot. It doesn't actually catch quite right. So what you want to do is you want to have enough room left on the end that if it slides a little bit, it's not going to slide off the end, but you want to help it choke up, and you want to help push that knot through that section so that once you get through, you'll be able to pull on it easier and you won't have any kind of issues. So that's what we're going to do now. There is a throttle line as well as your starter line coming through that port. So it does take a little bit of effort to get it through and then turned to come up the body of the board. But we'll try giving it a go right now. So just like that, I got it through that seal there. And then you just want to feed it in through with your hand on the PVC side. And then just slowly pull that kite string up on the other side. And then sure enough, with very little difficulty, you have your new airline out. Then all you have to do is pull it to length. Try to leave yourself enough room inside the board to run this airline to your fuel tank appropriately. If you pay attention to how you took the fuel line out, you can see how these lines are supposed to be ran. Here, I'll pull this over a little bit. So mine's a little bit different than yours because I can take out my ECU. So you're actually working around an ECU there too. And you'll also have your ground line, or they'll call it an earth line. It's also connected to your ECU, as well as your electronic bilge. These two lines will always be connected to your ECU, where mine actually have quick connects. It's a little bit different of a setup. Anyways, so you want to run it above your starter motor line, and between your starter motor line and your line for your RPM sensor. That's the one right next to your starter motor when it comes to your quick connects. And then next to your starter motor line, and then around the back of your starter and underneath your starter cable, and then into your air intake. That way it's not on top because you don't have too much tolerances here for your room, and it's not on your engine in any way. It's not actually going to melt or any chance of it being exposed to direct heat contact of your engine, because it being the kind of rubber it is, it will melt a little bit easier, and you don't want it rubbing against your drive shaft on your engine either. So it's run in a way that that you shouldn't have it really touching too much stuff. And then you want to take up all that slack, but you want to leave enough slack that you have a decent amount of room for connections. Not only that, but if you ever do get a wear spot, you can kind of pull it and cut it and reconnect it and stuff. So leave a little bit of line inside the board, not much, maybe just 4 inches or something of spare. That way you're not stressing out. If you ever have any issues later, you can just cut those 4 inches out and pull it and reconnect it. Okay, well, that's it for now. I'm going to pull this through and trim it up, and I'll deal with putting it into these retainers later, because I still have to look at how I'm going to modify this snorkel and get the snorkel put in. So that's Stephen Garner, Team Canada, Team Most Awesome. Thanks for watching, and I hope I helped. Bye.